robber, killer, drug dealer, thug, gangster, menace to society. We were doomed from the time we left the shores of Africa. Since then, everything has been designed for us to fail and for the European American to continue to profit from our labor. The same way that the United States began, the way and the purpose has not changed. It was not until I was an adult that I fully understood that Kent County is segregated, not by default, but by design. They hunt us like deer, and they harass us so much. This audio book here is called Racist Ass Kent County. It's a true life tale of a victim to racial profiling, abuse, police brutality, and harassment, written by Harry C. Johnson Jr. This is the audio book, Racist Ass Kent County, audio book 1, audio and visual. At the same time, you know, we do dope shit, you know what I mean? So, I'm gonna start off by just reading a few lines. I ain't gonna read the whole book. I might be popping in and out on you throughout, you know, the reading, showing an appearance. We are the ugly side of you, still fighting a civil war within our communities. I'm going to tell the story raw. H.C. Johnson. True story. ... Nigger. Coon. Worthless. Less than half a man. Black. Monkey. Faggot. Bitch. Cotton picker. Baboon. Hunky. Cracker. White devil. Kidnapped, raped, beaten to death, murdered for no reason, ripped in half by horse in front of your family, hung in trees, sold, worked to death, and bred like animals. If any of what you just read sound or is offensive to you in any way, deal with it. This has been the United States of America reality for over 400 years. Deep, open, infected wounds. What was said above is the true reality and the true nature of the United States of America. We all know that this is reality in the United States of America. The whole world sat back and watched the brutal racism and hundreds of years of discrimination that has fueled the minds, bodies, and spirits of the citizens of this country. Believe me, African Americans and Native Americans don't want sympathy for the horrible things they endured during the construction of this great nation. It's unfair to the people who suffered that these issues are treated as though they aren't true. If an African American speak about being discriminated against or try to expose someone for acts of racism, he is treated like he is delusional, as if he is creating some lie against a citizen of a country that bred racism to their kids for over 400 years plus. Now, unless you're as dumb as a dump truck full of rocks, you know that much exposure to something can't be diminished in only a 55-year span. I'm not implying that this country has not come a long way, nor am I implying that people are not trying to change, nor am I implying that all other races besides African Americans are racist. I am simply saying that racism and discrimination is living and breathing in the United States of America. It's real. It's happening every day in different regions, places, ways. It is going to take more than writing a law down on paper. Since the 1800s, when slavery was abolished, racism and discrimination has morphed rather than diminished. But my purpose of writing this book is not to give you a history lesson. Let's address what's happening today, still going on in this new millennium, generated by people 50 years and older. They can't seem to put the whip down. There is no secret why the Black Lives Matter movement is so strong today. It's because this society has still not accepted the African American presence in this country. What prompted me to write this book? Growing up in Kent County, Michigan, in the city of Grand Rapids, gave me the impression that the government struck a deal with the Ku Klux Klan to police the cities and neighborhoods of Kent County. The state of Michigan gave the KKK a way to take off the white hood and allow them to still be, by putting on either a blue uniform or a brown and tan uniform worn by sheriffs with a badge, a gun, and the right to continue to terrorize African Americans and any other race they deem unworthy, white or poor. Prejudice, racism, and discrimination did not start in Kent County, Michigan. I can only share with you my experience. What I can tell you is that the same energy is shared throughout the nation. It has been magnified and concentrated into the core of this country. For instance, let's look at a few recent examples, all high-profile situations that proves that the law enforcement, local police have been and still are being used as instrumental tools to affect prejudice, extreme discrimination, and racial divide amongst the citizens. I'm going to sum it up in two categories. Category 1 is about 3 African American males. They all have similar situations that ended up with the same result. And category 2 is about 3 European American males. They all had similar situations that ended up with the same results. Under category 1, let's take a look. Under category 1, we got Mike Brown, Eric Garner, and Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old that was playing at the park in Ohio. All 3 of these guys died at the hands of police officers in 2014. All 3 of their cases were high profile, even sparked riots and months of protests. In the end, led to some changes to law and law enforcement policies. If you are not familiar with any of the guys' names that I mentioned above, yes, I said they were murdered by police officers in cold blood, might I add. That was upheld as justified by the courts. No officers were prosecuted. Just to give you a little history, it was documented, publicized, and videotaped as proof that neither one of these guys posed a deadly or dangerous threat to the officers that killed them. We say that the police involved choice to murder Brown, Garner, and Rice, the 12-year-old in Ohio, was due to the trained prejudice that leads these public servants to believe that an African American man is more dangerous even when he's not dangerous or threatening the safety of others. Now take category 2. We got W. Snyder. Don't really remember his first name. Don't really remember none of these guys' first name. And A. James. Both attempted to violently murder the police in January 2015. Both attempted to violently murder the police in January 2015. Both attempted to violently murder the police in January 2015. And the third guy is Eric Nyes. He murdered a state trooper in 2013. What they all have in common, besides the fact that they're all of the same race, is that they all either killed a police officer or tried to kill police officers. And they were not murdered by the police for their actions.
He came out in the backyard loaded with 3 weapons, a .22 rifle, automatic, semi-automatic rifle, a .30-30 rifle, and a 12-gauge shotgun. When asked to put down the guns, ordered to put down the guns by the officers in the backyard, rather than do that, he began to shoot at him with the .22. He fired 17 rounds in that backyard, at least 8 of which went through the fence. 1 hit the officer, but for the grace of God, it was a small caliber gun. It went through the fence. The officer was not ultimately seriously injured and is recovering from his wounds. But it wasn't for a lack of effort on his part that he didn't kill all 3 officers in that backyard. He also took shots at officers trying to come to the assistance of those 3 officers in the front yard. One of the bullets that went through the fence at the officers in the backyard went through the house at 233 Abbey and struck one of the occupants, one of the residents of the home, in the stomach. He fortunately also wasn't injured that badly, but nonetheless, he had shot 2 people now and shot at 2 more. During the course of the rest of the incident, he fired his shotgun at least 4 times. When he's again ordered to drop his gun, he won't do it. Instead of dropping the gun, he turns and points it in the direction of the officers, and they begin to shoot at him. They ultimately fire 11 rounds at him, and finally he drops in the driveway at 233 Abbey. He was making no effort to surrender, no effort to drop the gun.
Eric Nies, a young European American guy, shot a state trooper at point blank range and blew his brains out during his traffic stop. W. Snyder tried to shoot 2 police officers with a bow and arrow, also a European American guy. And A. James, who is also a European American guy, was involved in a domestic dispute between he and his girlfriend. When the police showed up to address the call, A. James came out the back door of the house with multiple guns and ammo, shooting at the police officers and struck one of them right below the vest. Each case, with the exception of Snyder, ended in a massive manhunt. But not one of these 3 guys were murdered for their actions, even though they acted in a dangerously threatening manner that put numerous officers and citizens in danger. This is an example of discrimination in the new millennium. They murdered the African American guys for no reason, but they used reason with the European American guys and used alternative ways to apprehend them. It is clear that the police in the United States are trained to believe that a European American life is more valuable and worth saving than an African American who gets murdered for no reason in broad daylight in front of hundreds of people with no repercussions for their European American killer's actions. I am not trying to win a case for these guys. I'm just showing you proof that discrimination is accepted and protected by this country, as well as an obvious part of law enforcement training. When I talk about the police, I'm not discriminating against any races of people that make up the police department. When they come in contact, they try to apply overbearing pressure, like shut up, don't move, stand right there, don't speak until you're spoken. That caused 98% of the tension between African Americans and police officers of all races. When in fact, as citizens of the United States, the police work for us. They are not slave masters or hands on a plantation. They are public servants for the citizens of this country. All right, y'all. That's the conclusion to Racist Ass Kent County audio book and the audio visual book, volume 1 of a 3-part series. I don't know, it might be a 2-part series depending on how y'all take to this. If y'all love it, you know, the second part might just be a 2-hour joint, you know what I'm saying? Or else we might just break it up into 3 discs, each one like an hour and something a piece. You know, don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'm gonna feed you with this information. When we drop this, we dropping this on YouTube. We will be doing a live premiere, so stay tuned for that. We will be selling this on Amazon. You will be able to hear this on SoundCloud. You will be able to hear this on Stun On Them Music. And you will be able to watch this on Stun On Them Films once we release this. We're going to push this out there. We're going to be working with Amazon Prime as well. Trying to get on Amazon Prime. So stay tuned. This is Harry C. Johnson. This was brought to you by Paper and Ink Publications, Nitro Lux Industries.